So okay. So from the second class onwards, we have been seeing how to connect that Excel source. So we have get that option is there. You can select the Excel or from a more. We have the option called file. As part of that files, you can select that Excel, and then after click on connect. Whenever you set connect, it will ask you to browse the file. Whenever you browse the file, it is going to analyze the independent worksheets or the tables that you created as part of sheets. It is going to analyze, and it is going to showcase the list of worksheets along with the tables. You can see there are the two tables which are having a header. There are the other sheets which are not having a header. You can identify the difference between them. What exactly the difference between them is? In Excel, in Excel, by default, each sheet will be considered as a table. Each sheet will be considered as a table. And what we can do is, in a single sheet, we can create a tables exclusively by creating it by using a command called control T. You can create a multiple tables also inside a sheet. So whenever you whenever you create a independent tables, that will be showcased like this. If you are not creating any table, the entire sheet will be considered as a table here. So whenever you browse a file, it is going to analyze two categories of tables. One is if you are not mentioned anything, that sheet will be considered as an independent table. The complete sheet will be showcased as a one table. And second thing is, in a sheet you can have the multiple tables. At that time, if you have that kind of table, it is going to showcase only the tables associated with that sheet. And if you have any power pivot model inside it as part of your workbook, it is not going to showcase anything from there. So whenever you browse your Excel sheet, Excel workbook, it is going to showcase the two categories of tables. One is independent worksheets. Second one is the tables associated with each sheet. Okay. Then after, you need to select whatever you want, whatever the table that you want, you need to select, and you need to load it. Whenever you select it, you have an option called first to filter or search. with the help of that, like whenever if I have like lot of tables, like let's say 30 tables are there, 40 tables are there, at that time if I want to search it, I can search here. Like we have Ajax related like kind of searching is there, like whenever you search it, automatically it is searching all the tables in that worksheet. And the display options, how you want to display, enable the previews. Enable the previews means like whenever you select it, the preview will be displayed there. Now I disabled the preview, preview is disabled. If you click on enable preview, preview will automatically, whatever you select, the preview will be showcased. So you want to enable the, if you want to see the preview, what data it is having, you can see it. Or if you want to like see only the selected items, only the selected items will be get displayed. So those are the two options and search, and whatever you select, the preview will be displayed if you enable it. And other than that, what else you have extra is that load. Load means if you wanted to load the tables, you can load it. If you wanted to filter down the table, you can use the edit query. You can click on edit. Just a second. I'm getting a continuous warning that there is some noise. Okay. So load means it is going to load the complete table, and edit means if you wanted to transform your table, if you want to perform any tuning, you can click on edit. On this weekend, we are going to complete the edit queries options, and cancel it is going to cancel it, and you have two more options are there. This is refresh and this is refresh preview. Two options are there. So click on like so click on load for now. Those tables were loaded. Now if I wanted to load a few more tables from the same sheet, you have recent sources option is there. Whenever you click on it, it is going to showcase you the recently loaded tables information. Now whenever I click on it, by that time my source might get changed, right? There might be a new tables added, or there might be some tables were deleted, but it is showcasing a preview of whatever we loaded previously. Okay, so or when I'm working here, I'm using a shared drive file, and when I'm working here, some other person updated that file. I wanted to refresh the metadata. At that time, you have an option called refresh. Whenever you perform a refresh, it is going to interact with that source and it is going to update the tables list. Sometimes I don't want to load all the tables, I don't want to refresh all the tables, and I want to refresh only a specific table. Okay, even this table a new records might added or deleted, right, or updated. So if I want to check the latest data, you can click on a refresh and you can load the latest data. So these are the options associated with that Excel. And data filtering and the edit queries we are going to have a discussion. But whenever you select the Excel source, these are only the options which are available to configure to load the data from Excel. Or if someone is having a question, boss, what is the control T? So at the time, so In a sheet 1, I created I just given a 2 rows. In a sheet 2, I given the same thing, and here you can select that one and you can click on Control T. We are creating a table. And what is that scope is A1 to B2, like whatever we selected this area. And we are saying that we have headers also. Click on OK. Whenever you click on OK, what is the name of the table? The name of the table is EMP1. Click on enter. Okay. Starts with a letter underscore. Fine. Now I'm creating another table over here itself. So select the table and you click on so select that one and a Control T. So create a name for it. Now in the same sheet I created two tables and I save this one. Now I have only two sheets are there, sheet 1 and sheet 2. As part of a sheet 2, I have two tables I created and I am loading from Excel now. Get data, Excel underscore test. You can see that employee underscore 1 and that employee table whatever we have as part of sheet 2 and department, the department table whatever I have. So in a single sheet I have two tables. Those two are getting displayed. Like that you can have 10 tables in a single sheet. The 10 tables will get displayed over here. And the sheet 1 whatever it has. And sheet 2 it is showcasing all our null records. Like here we didn't provide anything, right? So the complete sheet is showcasing here. Under that what are the tables are there, that is showcasing over here. So whenever you browse your Excel, it is going to showcase all the sheets. Along with that, each sheet what are the tables associated with that. So that is what it is showcasing. If you want to do some modeling, Power Pivot modeling in your Excel, first you need to create a table like this by Control T. You need to create a tables here. Then after you need to push the tables into Power Pivot model. That we'll see later time wherever we require. For now, whenever you browse Excel, it is going to showcase all the individual sheets. Along with that, if you create any table, pivot tables we used to call, if whatever the tables that you created, that will be showcased as part of the tables list. That's it about Excel connection. So whenever if you want to load Excel, that is how you can load. And whatever we discussed in the last session, Azure Data Lake. From Azure Data Lake also you can connect, or all Azure sources. Once you keep the data there, you can connect from there. So Azure Data Lake Store, click on connect, and you need to provide the URL. So yesterday we created Azure Data Lake store called TestDB. Under that, under input folder, we kept a file. Here this file. Let's assume I wanted to read the data from this file. At that time, we have a folder properties. This is the path for that folder. Copy that path. So it is asking you to sign in. You aren't signed in, sign in. Azure, you need to go to last two videos, Satish, so that you will get a clear picture. I will share the access, please go through it. So I connected. Now connected to this data lake store. TestDB is the data lake store. Click on connect. Whenever you are connected, it is showing that what are the files that you have. I have a file called I have only one file called data.csv, that is a CSV file, and I click on load or click on edit. So whenever you click on edit, you can see that that is a binary file. So whenever you click on it, whenever you drill down it, we'll have a table. Okay, now close and apply. Whatever the data that you have in your data lake store that was loaded here, 30 and 40 yesterday we inserted, right? That data. So getting the data into your storage, your source is main thing. The remaining Power BI supports for all the sources. So I showcase how to connect the data in a Azure Data Lake Store. Yesterday I said how you can get the data in Azure Data Lake Store. If you want to tune it, you have USQL is there, I said. You can process the data and you can keep it as part of your data lake store. If you want, you can store it in Azure Data Warehouse. That is what ADF done. If you want, you can directly report in a Power BI. That is what I showcased now. So anyways, as I given some task to all the people, start exploring it, and I'm expecting the things by 26th. We'll see. At that time we'll explore much. For now, if you want to connect the data from ADF like Azure Data Lake Store, you just need to do the path. That's it. You don't need to do anything, and you have all the files only there. Next one, CSV file. If you have data as part of a CSV or a text file, let's assume you are not dealing with any databases, you don't have budget. If you have only the data in a CSV or text files, at the time how you can load. If you want to load the data in a text file, from a text file, you have a text.csv option is there. At that time, you have an option. I'm not sure. Let me check this. I have one CSV file is there, test1. CSV and text file, what is the difference is nothing but both are text files only first of all, but in text file the delimiter can be anything. It might be comma or semicolon or a pipe or a tab, whatever, but CSV files the separator is comma. So if you want to load the data from a comma separated value file, get data, more, file, text.csv, click on connect. So here I am loading a file, text file that is CSV format, click on open. Here it is showcasing that it read the file, it is specified the delimiter as a comma, and it is showcasing the data. By default it was recognized a delimiter as a comma, and you have some fixed delimiters are there. Let's assume if it is not comma, if something else, you can select, you can change that one. Or if you have any other delimiters other than these things, you can use it. You can see I provided this underscore, like this one as a separator, so that the date 12/5/2017 was splitted like this. You can provide whatever the like other than these fixed delimiters. If you have any other delimiter, you can mention as custom. Or if it's not a custom, or you don't have any delimiter, you have a file for every 3 characters, it's a separate line. At that time you can mention 3 or 4, whatever, a fixed length of characters, and the first 3 things are not of 4 length, it is not showing anything. Fine. So you need to select a fixed width, right? Just give me a second. Fixed width. Fine, it is not working. So these are the delimiters that you need to select, and the next one is data type detection. Data type detection, for a text files you will not have any data types. For Excel files you have data types called integer, strings, or dates. You have data types, but for CSV files or text files, all the data will be in the text format only. So you wanted to load everything as a text, or you wanted to specify the data types, you can take a decision over here. So in your SSIS, you have 2 options will be there. You have an option will be there, analyze first 200 rows, or analyze the data set. But here you have 3 options are there. You wanted to detect the data type based on the first 200 rows, you can select this one. You wanted to detect the data type by analyzing the complete data set, use this one. Or you don't want to assign data type, load everything as a text only, select this one. So how you wanted to load the data? Why? Because everything is a text. So you need to select any one of them. Then after you have refresh only, refresh, you know, if I already connected to this CSV file, after some time if I wanted to refresh it, you can refresh from here also. So refresh, it is going to refresh the preview. Let's assume the file is dynamic. I have been working on this one. I want to take a latest copy. So that is the refresh, and remaining all the options are same. Click on load. That will be loaded here. The test 1. You can see the column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4. Why? Because that CSV file don't have any columns. Whatever the file that I have, that don't have a column, that's why automatically columns were assigned. So this is how you can load that CSV file, or even a text file, or the file from a ADL. In ADL the output file is text, like CSV files only, or text files only. So this is how you can connect. And next, connecting with SQL Server. Connecting with SQL Server. So whenever you are connecting with SQL Server, you have 2 options are there. One is import, second one is direct query. Import. Why you have import and direct query options? Power BI is having a limitations. Power BI is having a limitations with data storage. Why? Because you are deploying your reports in a cloud. Power BI cannot offer you with a lot of space. It can offer you it can offer you a maximum of a 10 GB storage per your account. As I said, Power BI Pro, even if you purchase it, you will get a maximum of 10 GB. And each data set, even though you got a 10 GB of a data set, you cannot use 10 GB for a single report. Each data set, which means each report, you can have a maximum of a 2 GB of a space. If you create a report with a more than 2 GB, you cannot deploy there. Okay, some 2 GB limit is there. Yet at that time, maximum you can create a 5 reports if you are having a 2 GB data sets. Then after you cannot create anything. In that scenarios, the Power BI giving an option that boss, don't load any data in your report. Keep your data with you and use a concept called direct query. What do you mean by the import is, we are going to load the data in our Power BI file. We are doing a data model layer. We are going to send the data to cloud. That is going to preferable whenever you have a less data. Whenever you are having a less data, first of all, that should not be preferred at all. Leave about less data, high data. Everyone feel that if they have a 500 MB or 1 GB, that is a less data. If 1 GB is a less data, if he push 10 reports, 10 GB will be filled. Then after what he is going to create? Nothing. So import, we have one mechanism where you can load the data in a Power BI. If you create a visualization, if you publish it, that data will be pushed to cloud. That's it. Okay, and it is going to occupy the space. The next thing is direct query. As I said, we have a limitation with a cloud storage, that to 10 GB. In that maximum 2 GB you can have a data set. At that time, what you are going to do is, we are going to keep our data at SQL Server itself. We are going to load only structure in a Power BI. We are going to create a model layer, and we are going to directly connect with a database. That is what direct query. Understand from here, I will showcase from SQL, like my editor. Database. As I said, Power BI has a, let's assume, data model layer, and visualizations are there. If you are choosing an import mechanism, the data will come and sit in your data model. In your Power BI report, the data will sit here. Whenever, and then after you can create a data model, then after you can create a visualizations, then after you can publish on a Power BI service. Whenever you publish a Power BI service, along with your report, your data also pushed. Along with that, your data also pushed. So for each and every report, you are going to store your data. Okay, and you are not going to prepare one report, right? You are going to prepare your development report. You are going to create a EOT environment. You are going to create a production. In a service-based company, 3 or 4 environments will be there. The same report you are going to send all the places, which means you are going to create a multiple copies, and each of the copy, the same sheet called the data will be available. So out of the 10 GB that you have provided, you are consuming everything for only one report. Okay, a report called X in a dev environment, and EOT environment, regression environment, and production environment. Okay, so you are going to occupy 4 data sets with a 4 GB or 7 GB of data by using this kind of concept. So this is an import mechanism which is going to load the data in a Power BI. The data will be stored in our Power BI file. Whenever you publish it, the data will be moved to cloud, and based on that data your report is going to get displayed. That is what import mechanism that is having a lot of limitations. Enterprise level organization, it will not work on a import mechanism. You should not select this approach. But all the people blindly select this approach and they will fail. And they used to say that there are a lot of issues with the Power BI. And Power BI can load a maximum 1 million records, 1.5 million records, 2 million records, or 50 million records. They used to say. Based on the size of your data, it is going to load. For a 2 GB, how much it can load? It can load that one. Okay, so that is what import mechanism. And the next one is direct query. Direct query is nothing but whenever you are having a huge amount of data, you always have a huge data whenever you are dealing with a company. So definitely 2 GB is nothing, right? So whenever you are having more than that, at that time, instead of loading the data in a Power BI, we are going to load the structure. We are going to load the structures or a metadata, which is nothing but the table name, column names. That's it. We are going to do a data model here, and we are going to create a report. So whenever you are getting the data, whenever you are using the column you are accessing here, that will get the data from your database, directly from your database. So whenever you publish it in a Power BI service, only the structure metadata will be moved, and this will get the data from a database. For that you are going to install a gateway. Even at the time of using import mechanism also you must use a gateway, not to refresh. But if you are using a direct query, you are loading only structure, that schema you can call. With that schema you are going to create a report, and whenever you are interacting the report with that schema or columns, that will get the data from a database. So you are not going to load any data over here. You are just loading a file with a schema, and then after you are consuming everything directly from your database. At that time, why you can have any limit of data here, so you will not be under the limit of 2 GB or 10 GB. You can work with 100 GB of data at a time by establishing a direct query. That is what direct query option available in SQL Server. Now yeah, it might take some time. Like I'm trying to connect another virtual machine which is having a SQL Server 2017, but it is taking time. So no issues. I can showcase from Azure SQL. So here I'm taking a fresh report, or if I am not connected anything, I will take it. Okay, so I'm taking a fresh report. And if you want to work with the SQL Server, you have a get data SQL Server option is there, or even the same options were available even for Azure Data Warehouse. You can see Azure Data Warehouse or Azure SQL, the same options will be there. So as we used to work with Azure, I'm just showcasing Azure. The same options will be there for SQL Server also. Even you can see SQL Server database only. Even I select Azure. So we are going with this one. The server name, just give me a second. Just give me a second. So server name, and the database name. And if you know the database name, you can mention it. If you don't know, then also that will be fine. It will showcase. So click on OK. So whenever you mention that server name, it is showcasing me the list of databases available under that server. Generally, for you people, it will ask you to provide the username and password to connect the server. But as I frequently used to connect to this mission, this server, it is not asked me. But anyways, so once you provide the server name and username and password, it is going to showcase the list of databases which are available. Then after, select a database and select the tables whatever you want. So team product, team date, and then after fact internet sales. Click on load. So whenever you are clicking on load, you need to understand what option you are selecting. Get data, SQL Server or Azure Data Warehouse, both are same. Whenever you click on connect, yes, it is there in Azure, right? Yesterday when I am creating Azure Data Warehouse, I selected a sample database called AdventureWorks. That's why it automatically came, if you remember. So this is a server name. You need to provide a server name. Then after, you need to specify the database name. If not, it is going to showcase you. But before to that, you need to specify how you wanted to load the data. By default, import was selected. So as import was selected, whenever I click on connect, whenever I select some tables, I don't want, I'm selecting one table and click on load. Whenever I click on load, what will happen is that team product table will be loaded in Power BI. Loaded means the data also will be loaded here. You can see the data here. Okay. So like that, as I selected one table is showcasing. If I select 50 tables data will be loaded here. So which is going to occupy a lot of space. When I publish a report, the same data will be moved to Power BI service. Okay. So I have a data limitations are there. So, but anyways, this is what an input mechanism. Whenever you import it, you will have a data. You can create a relationships and you can create a visualization. Same will be pushed to Power BI service. Now, on the other hand, you have another option is there that you have an option called direct query. Get data, more database, Azure data warehouse, connect, specify the database and specify direct query, click on OK. So whenever I click on OK, now Azure data warehouse demo and select any table. We are not worrying on what are the table that we are loading. We are at how to connect only. Okay, so click on load. I loaded a table with an option called direct query, and you can see that you don't have a data view. But you observe that the table was loaded, columns are there, which is nothing but schema that we used to call. The schema was loaded, but data is not there. But if I create some visualization, data will come. Data is not loaded here, but whenever I create a visualization, data will come. Why? Because it is going to get the data from a database. That is what a direct query option. So why? Because we used to deal with a lot of data. If you don't have Azure analysis or normal analysis services, you can have a live connection with a SQL or Azure, and you can create a visualizations by creating a modeling in Power BI. So direct query is nothing but it will not load the data in a Power BI, and it directly get the data whenever you use it in a Power BI. So that is what the option here it will showcase generally. So today my machine has some issues. It is behaving strange. Okay, so or you can go to report to view, let it minimize. Yes, you can see it is saying that boss, the direct query is enabled. Okay, so direct query is enabled, and click to change. Let's see what we can click. So we can move to import. Super. I think this is a new feature. So previously we cannot move from direct query to import, but here this is fine. Import to direct query you cannot move. That is what the main thing. Anyways, you need to understand at this point of time. So we connected as a direct query. If you connect as a direct query, data will be there in database, and then after we are going to create a visualizations. Whenever you create a visualizations from a database, you are going to get the data. When you need to select that option is whenever you are having a huge amount of data. In organizations, always you need to select that one. So that is what direct query and import. And Azure in a single report you cannot have both the options, direct and import query, both you cannot have. If your report is import mode, like when a fresh report, if you import the data, whatever the connection that you are make, those must be imported. You cannot have a live connection or import method both together in a single model. So as this report is already imported data, you are able to see 3 views. It is not allowing you to use a direct query. It was disabled. You must import it. Similarly, if you are using a direct query, if you want to import it, it will not allow you. A single report can have only one model that might be imported or that might be a direct query. So then after we have an advanced options are there. Advanced options sometimes as part of your data model, your physical data model or which are your database. In service-based companies, you have to charge more billing. In the sake of for the sake of billing, they used to divide your tables into multiple tables. One big table they divide into 100 tables. Okay, so if you load 100 tables here and if you construct a data model, there are many limitations are there. Your performance will be downgraded. At the time, sometimes you need to write a query, you need to write a 5 or 10 joins or where conditions, group bus, everything as a SQL query. I need to get the data. That you can make it with the help of a views in database. But sometimes, if that is not a reusable thing, you can write a query here. You can write a query here and you can load the data. So I want to get the data based on a 2 different tables or a 3 different tables with a where condition or something. What is the need to load all the tables here? Again, creating a relationship. Whenever I create a relationship, what will happen is on the runtime, that join will be performed. I don't want it to downgrade my performance. So I will get everything under a single table. So you can write a query here. You can write your SQL query here. There you can create a table, so drop the things, delete the things, or truncate. Everything you can write here. But at the end, you need to return one data set. You can call a procedure from here. Most of the people ask one nonsense question that, boss, I will use a direct query and I will use the parameters. Okay, so I will use a direct query, I will use a procedure, I will use the parameters they used to say. Whenever understand the scenario, leave about whatever last 2 minutes are happening. You have a database, you have a Power BI report which is connected as a live connection. Live connection means whenever you select some method and you pasted it here, you used it as part of your chart. At that time, it is going to hit this database. Hit this database based on the query that you written. Now understand. Krishna, my voice again, you are having any issues? Fine.
No, sir, nothing.
Okay, fine.
Very clear.
Okay, so understand this one. Like many people has many. I used to get lot of questions based on this only. So you are connected to a direct query. Why? Because most of the people are MSBI background and they are very comfortable with SSRS reports. They are not much trained on a Power BI. They are not aware of a Power BI. But they will start a Power BI reporting and they will select a direct query. They want to use a. They want to call a procedure. They want to send a parameters. So they will define the architecture or framework. And everyone, I used to get a question like this. Boss, I have a database. I used a direct query. And as part of that, can I call a procedure? You can call a procedure. Can I send a parameters? Yes, you can send a parameters. Within this scope, that is fine. That is really great. Within this scope. Leave about direct query. Calling a procedure with the parameters are fine. But when you need to call the procedure, you should not make some nonsense with the help of a direct query. If you are calling a procedure with a parameters and you use a direct query, what is internal behavior is, direct query means what? So whenever you use a measure, whenever you create a visualization, yet at that time, it will hit your database, which means it is going to hit your query. That query will hit the database. It is going to load the data. For that, visualization. So whatever you do there, for each and every time you are calling a procedure. For each and every time you are calling a procedure. And that procedure might take much time. And that procedure can get only the parameterized data, whatever the data that you are sending over here as a parameter, that data only will be retrieved. Okay, and will you call for each and every measure or a field that you are using? For each and every time you are going to call a procedure. That procedure, they will make some lot of shit, and the procedure will execute in 5 minutes of time. Why we are using a procedure? Procedure we are using, or query we are using, in order to get the dynamic data, in order to do many staging operations, join operations, many transformations. At that time, for each and every, like whatever the touch that you make with the visualization in a Power BI, that will hit your query. At that time, procedure will be called. Is it the best approach? It cannot be used. So first of all, if anyone is from SSRS background, or if anyone is using a parameterized or calling a procedure, don't call a procedure. What is the need to call a procedure? So create a views, call a view. If you want to filter down something, filter it at report level. That's it. So you can write any SQL query here. You can even write a procedure also. Write a procedure whenever you are using import mechanism, but don't use a procedure at the time of a direct query, and that will take a lot of time. And here at my point is, you can write your queries over here, get whatever the data that you want. Okay, and whenever you are using that one, so include relationship columns. So you want to load the related columns also, you can use it. Okay, and you need to specify, boss, my query, if it is executing more than 5 minutes of time or 3 minutes of time, fail the query execution. We cannot wait for 1 hour of time for the sake of refresh, right? So if more than 2 minutes, if this query is getting executed, send a failure notification, or make this one fail, so that I can track that one. So you can specify that timeout. Okay, so those are the options which are available to connect with a SQL server. So whenever you are connecting a SQL server or Azure SQL or Azure Data Warehouse, at the end you need to connect only those things. So at the time of connecting those things, you have two options are there: direct query or import. Whenever you select those things, import or direct query, you have two options are there. Those are nothing but writing a query or importing a table. Even direct query also, you can write a query, you can import the complete table. So these are the different options which are available to work with a SQL Server or Azure SQL or Azure Data Warehouse. I said, if you use import in the same report, you cannot use direct query, or if you use a direct query, you cannot use the import. Remember these points, these are the more than sufficient. Okay, so that is what import and direct query with a SQL Server. The next thing is, any questions up to here, whatever we have done so far? All the people, Arpit, Ashraf, Balamurli, Brahma, Deepti, Venkatram, Geetan, Jahnavi, Manoj, Manasa, Satish, Shiv Prasad, Sugata, and Sridevi Srijit. Okay, fine. So that is how you can connect with a SQL Server or Azure SQL, Azure Data Warehouse, all are same. Next one, how to work with analysis services. As I have a 10 minutes time, I will showcase you how to connect with analysis services if the server is already there. And as part of our course, we are going to learn how to create that model, how to deploy that model and everything. But at the end, after doing everything, we need to connect the Power BI with analysis services. Now, taking a fresh report, Satish, go ahead. So I taken a fresh report, and whenever if you want to work with analysis services, especially tabular SSAs only will work. We don't require multi-dimensional SSAs. Even I showcased yesterday a couple of requirements, right? Let me yesterday I sent many requirements as part of a WhatsApp group. If you go with the first requirement which Accenture shared, that is clearly tabular SSAS and DAX only they require. They didn't even mention about a multi-dimensional SSAS. So whenever you are working with SSAS, we have analysis services option is there. At that time you need to provide the server name, and always a connect live by default option is there. So you need to specify one second. Okay. On scene machine. So I have many databases are available, analysis services databases. Why this database will come and everything we'll see from tomorrow. But whenever you wanted to connect with, I opened a fresh report. I don't have any data sources were added. If you want to work with analysis services, click on get data analysis services and take the server name and specify the database name also. So specify the server name, and then after you have two options, import and a connect live. So whenever you click on connect, it is going to showcase you the list of databases that you have. You can select a model. In this model it will contain the list of tables and like methods, translations, perspectives, lot of things will be there, but you have an option to select a model. Then after click on OK. So whenever you select a model, it was loaded with many tables. Observe here, you have only report view. You don't have a data view or relationship view. Why? Because whenever you are using a Power BI like with SSAS source, you are not going to do anything in Power BI. Everything you are going to do in SSAS, we are simply drag and drop, we are going to publish it. Why? Because you are going to deal with a lot of data, and whatever the model that you are creating, that must be reusable. Understand? You have a database. I said that, but you are going to load your data in your Power BI. You are going to construct a model, I said, and from that you are going to create a reports, I said. Okay. If it is a organization level reports, you are going to spend a lot of time to do this data modeling. Lot of time you are going to spend. Report creation is nothing, right? Just drag and drop. Lot of time you are going to spend here. The same requirement is there in another report. What you are going to do? You need to do everything here, and again the complete data modeling you need to do here, and then after you need to create a report. So the same effort whatever you spend here, you need to keep here also, or someone from your team also need to keep the same effort. At the end, that is a worst product. But this is not the trend. If you do everything as part of your report, if you do a data modeling in your report, that is not reusable. Understand a point now here. You are using SQL Server direct query. SQL, if someone asks you, boss, what is the difference between a direct query or a live connection? You will say that, boss, both will connect from a live data in SSAS and SQL Server. That fellow will ask you, if both are connecting a live, what is the need of these two things? Then Whenever you are using a SQL Server direct query, you are connecting to the data live and you are doing a data modeling inside of a Power BI. That one, though you are connecting a live, the data model is inside of a report. That is not at all reusable thing. You are overcoming a limitation of data storage, but you are making a sheet of not reusable one. If you are not reusable, whatever the money or whatever the time that you spent, no use at all. Now, SSAS with Power BI, what it is going to give you is database. SSAS is the outside environment to the Power BI. There you are doing a data modeling. So whatever you are doing here, yes. So fine. So whatever you are doing there inside of a Power BI report, you are doing outside of a Power BI report and storing there. That is what analysis services. And from there you are creating a Power BI report. Now, if another report also want the same model, I will use this one. Whatever the report which requires the same model, I can use this one. Why? Because this model is not there inside of another report. If it is there here, I cannot access it and I need to recreate it. But if that is there in outside, I can use it in any report without spending anything. I can connect to that one. I can create a weekly report, monthly report, quarterly report, yearly report, or the reports for different entities, different reports for different countries. I will do many things by using a simple model. If not, the same data or same structure need to load it everywhere and need to create a remodeling. That is what the difference between a direct query and import. Now I connected analysis services with a live connection, which is nothing but we connected to a model. And if you connected to a model means you don't need to do anything in Power BI. You just need to drag and drop the things. You don't have anything to do. That is what SSAS with a live connection. And I have a very limited time. I need to rush. I'm stopping here. From here we'll continue in the next session. And next session, so we'll just give you a high level heads up regarding how to connect with a direct query, like import and live connection of SSAS. Why? Because we started here. We are going to start a clear discussion on how to develop SSAS cubes, like from a databases or Excel sources or any other sources. How to create a tabular cubes, we are going to have a discussion that will be continued in next 3 or 4 days of time. Thereafter, the DAX and security will be continued. From here onwards, almost 8 to 10 hours we are going to spend the time on complete this part, which is not to mean like on a weekend I scheduled like Saturday I scheduled a 4-hour session and a Friday 2-hour session, like morning and evening, and Sunday evening session I scheduled. So which is not mean the complete time we are going to spend there. So like on a weekend I am going to complete the edit queries and Power BI service. A limited time will be continued with SSAS, DAX and a Power BI, like security. So both of them will run parallelly. If people just available on time, I will take care of the remaining things. So any questions up to here, whatever I am done. And regarding that time, I will update you for all the people.